Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's all about soulful navigation. Yes, it is. And we're back here with Kristin Lemaster in regards to her as an energy healer, all her work that she does to help you. Based out of San Francisco, California, but she can help you as a coach anywhere around the world. Again, it's soulfulnavigation.com. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much, Jill.
She looks beautiful. We're on the Zoomcast as well as the podcast for those of you who can't see her. She's all dolled up today. Any special occasion, or is it just us?
I'm going to do a ton of content filming today, so I'm excited to put on my makeup and kind of get ready to party.
Beautiful. Well, would you mind introducing yourself to people out there? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Kristin Lemaster, and I am an energy healer and a coach. And I actually started off as a scientist and an engineer. So I love to approach energy medicine from that science standpoint. And my passion in what I do with energy medicine is to really try to help us all dissolve that disconnect between our spirituality and our actual lives. So I find that this is a huge help for people who are busy, exhausted, stuck in that self-help cycle, unfulfilled, to get on their spiritual path and really live their life.
Perfect. So you would say your mission really is to kind of dissolve the disconnect, right, between our spirituality and our actual lives. This is so cool. You have this background with engineering and energy. I'm letting you know that's clearly unique. I've talked to plenty of energy healers and everyone has their unique story, but because what made you go to school for that? And tell me a little bit about you growing up. And first of all, before, how you got into this.
Sure. I became an engineer because I do love math and science, and I love to figure out how things work. But I was also I am a highly sensitive person. So my whole childhood, I was taking in everybody's emotions. But when I got to go to engineering school and go to work as an engineer, I got to live in this world where emotions weren't really part of it. We had predictable rules, we had predictable timetables. It was a very calming part of my life. But even as early when I was in graduate school for engineering at Johns Hopkins University, and even as early as then, I knew that I was missing out on something. So in graduate school, I did start to take all of those quantum physics classes. I read every book I could get on the theory of everything. And from there, I was like, whoa, there's this whole world out here. And you know what? Science can only tell us about a tiny part of it.
Got it. All right. Well, this is amazing, the work you're doing. And let's talk today. I know, for example, we're going to have a great conversation. And today's topic is?
It is about clearing stuck emotions, clearing that resistance out of your life, especially around the holidays, because sometimes we don't even realize we're holding on to some of that yuck and it's holding us back.
Yuck and stuck totally goes together. You're right. So what do you really mean by stuck energy? Could you give us some examples of what that feels like? How we know if we do have these stuck emotions trapped in us?
Sure. So I wanted to just go up to a bird's eye view for a second and just say, if we start to think of everything as energy, okay, that's like one of the main principles of working with energy. And what I mean by that is, our bodies are condensed energy, our voice is energy, our words are energy. So everything around us actually is energy. And we live in this energy field where we just have a lot of these subtle interactions that are happening. And I bet a lot of people can remember like walking into a room and just feeling the vibe, right? That's feeling the vibration, right? Of the energy field. Yeah. So when I say stuck energy or stuck emotions, it literally is us holding on to a pocket of a certain frequency, a certain vibration. A big part of energy is actually information too. So sometimes we're actually holding on to outdated information. We're holding on to the energy of that information, and it can really hold us back. And I would say the the top three things. So I've been practicing for about 20 years. I'll tell you the top three things that I see when people have stuck resistance in their life. One, they are trying so hard with physical, mental, and emotional effort, but they're not making any headway because it's the spiritual effort, it's the energy effort that is missing. So a lot of times you could be just trying so hard to heal to repair a relationship, to get to that next step in your career. And it's like you're banging your head against a wall and you just can't, your mind doesn't understand like why. A lot of times that's an energetic stickiness that you need to release before you can move forward. So that's the first one. The second one is, and I see this so much, and it happens to me too. If you ever have a recurring trend in your life, like it's been hounding you your whole life. So let's say there's the same kind of person that comes into your life over and over again. Or, maybe you're the kind of person who like always falls down and gets hurt, and you can't, again, you've like looked at your balance and you can't figure out why. A lot of times that is resistance in your life that often has a message. And it's like the universe is saying, I'm going to keep putting this in your path until you pay attention to the message hidden in the resistance. So that's the second thing, is that recurring trend. And then the third thing is sometimes people can actually feel it. They can feel like there's just this invisible force just trapping them, and they're watching everyone else succeed with minimal effort. And they're like, why is it so hard for me? So those are normally how we see it show up. But resistance can also show up as disease in your body. It can show up as fatigue, mental, like brain fog, all of those kind of symptoms.
Got it. Interesting. I think a lot of us suffer with that as well. And are there certain things we could do to recognize what's showing up in a sense? And this resistance? Give us some examples if you can.
Sure. So one of the greatest things that I love about working to clear things with energy is I often use the analogy, you don't have to go through the trash. You just got to take it to the curb, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you have this resistance, you don't have to get into the story of it. You don't have to re-trigger past challenges or past traumas. You can literally say, analytical mind, take a rest. We are going to go right into the frequency of it and we're going to take it out. So the first step in identifying where you're holding that frequency is to actually bring your awareness inside your body. And again, listeners, if you can safely do this now, you can do this. You can start to tune out the outside world just a little bit. Tune into your body and think about something in your life where you feel the resistance. So maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's your career, maybe it's your health. And find, where does it show up in your physical body? Does it show up in your heart? Does it show up in your throat? We see a lot of resistance that gets stored in people's throats. But it could be something as like, oh, my pinky finger is spasming right now, right? So when we talk about identifying resistance, using the body as a litmus test is a really great place to start, because your energy and your spirit is speaking to you through your body, through this amazing tool that you have. So the first thing is just to identify maybe where you're storing that.
And let me ask you about resistance in a sense. What can really unfold and happen to us? There's a lot greater good to come once we get rid of this, right? And by the way, just to point out, this could all be done virtually the way we're talking here. It could be done over the phone. It could be done in person too, right? It could be anywhere around the world. Energy, that's always hard to conceive, but someone working with energy, how would you describe it, that energy travels? Energy, what's the word? Because we could be here and you could, feel my energy, push me good energy. What is that called?
So I like to just say we work in the unified field, which is outside of space and time. So again, this is where that quantum physics really comes into play. We know what matter is, right? We can touch matter, and we know that matter is made of atoms and molecules, and molecules are made of atoms. But when you go inside the atom, that's where the magic really starts to happen. That's the quantum world. And actually, once you get down into those quantum particles, you realize that a lot of those are actually connected to this grand field, this unified field that we all are a part of. And when you do distance healing or distance energy work, you're actually going to the unified field. And it's almost like you're kind of leaving this 3D world, going into the unified field, doing all of your healing, all of your magic, and then you bring it back into the 3D world, into your body. So that's how I like to envision sort of that distance healing.
Thank you so much. I love the way you described that. No one's ever said it before. I'm going to have to ask again next week because I can't remember it. I have to write that one down, but that's awesome because
Well, I do want to say, if I could just pause for a second, if people
please.
are really interested in this, for 15 years, I was on a hunt to define, like, what is energy? What is it? I have a free mini course. It's on my app. So you can download my app from Google Play or the App Store.
Mhm.
It's called Soulful Navigation. And right there, the part of the content is this free mini course called What is Energy? And we talk about it very broadly. It's everything from those vibes, right? Frequency and vibration, to information. But there's a whole 40-minute lesson on there on particles, waves, and fields. If you really want to get into it, it's all there.
All right. Thank you so much. And by the way, remind us of the app. How do we find you?
Sure. So the app is Soulful Navigation. So I'll just spell that because a lot of
Sure.
people ask.
Go ahead.
It's
Go ahead.
Soulful. So Soulful Navigation, and just you can find it in either Google Play Store or the Apple Store.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. Let's continue. So we're talking about what can unfold when that resistance is clear, all the good that can come out of it, right?
I am telling you, when you release the heaviness that you have been carrying around, and by the way, no shame, no guilt, no blame, nothing. Okay. This is the human experience, right? When you release that, number one, your health absolutely can improve. And let me tell you a quick story. So I worked with a gentleman last summer who had colon cancer. And he, again, physical, mental, and emotional effort. He hit his treatment plan so hard. He was doing everything, in addition to Western medicine, the supplements, the meditation, the acupuncture. I mean, he was hitting it. And yet he gets to this part in his journey where the doctors tell him, go home and get your affairs in order. So he comes in and he's like, I just don't understand. And normally when that kind of things happen, I was like, this is really energetic. If we can't get it with medicine, it's probably energy. So let's just go in. And we were able to find this tiny little kernel of this really dense vibration that he had been holding. And we worked and we worked and we worked and we cleared it. He went in 2 months later for his colonoscopy and he was in remission, right? So releasing resistance can be as miraculous as that. It can be boosting your physical healing, your mental healing, your emotional healing. Because again, in addition to the physical, mental, and emotional effort, there's a spiritual effort too that can really help to lead us through. On the more kind of mundane side of things, when we release resistance, we often will see synchronicities come into our life, right? All of a sudden we're getting parking spots everywhere we go, right? Or we have been having really terrible dates, and all of a sudden, you just, with no effort at all, you run into someone and you're like, oh, this feels really good. So when you release that resistance, what it does is it opens you up to have all of these other experiences that are more aligned with your energy and your spirit.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And could you just share, just a few examples of someone like myself who's gone to someone like you? What are some of the things that are releasing? What do they say? Like what, give me an example of someone who came to you with a certain issue and need of energy release, and what's happened?
Sure.
I know there's lots of good stories.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of my most favorites. I mean, other than that gentleman last year, who is still in remission, by the way, over 18 months later. But I worked with a woman and she was older. She was in her 70s. And this is what I love about energy work is it is never too late to get in there and clear things out. And she had been a wanderer most of her life. She never had a home, and that was her thing. She could never find a place that she loved. She had difficult relationships. She had trauma in her life. So we sat down, and she came to me to say, I want to resolve this trauma. I'm getting to the end of my life. So we worked to clear out a lot of the things that she was holding from a childhood trauma. And we cleared it out. We worked on her first chakra, which is an energy center. And that's the energy center mostly connected to our sense of security, to finding our home. We cleared out her first chakra. We also worked on really grounding her body, meaning that we were really working on enhancing her relationship to the earth. And
Wow.
we were getting these messages that one of the reasons she couldn't quite find that home was because she just didn't have that connection to the earth. Anyway, we cleared it out, took a break. She goes out into her life. Everything, she's feeling good. Her health is resolving. She's having great relationships. And then all of a sudden she said, Kristin, this opportunity just dropped in my lap to buy this tiny little home in the Southwestern United States. And it
What?
almost seems perfect. The weather is good for
Oh my
my
gosh.
health conditions. So she buys the house, she moves, she gets down there, and then she calls me a couple months later and she says, I have a spiritual connection to the land here. And she's like, I walk out of my
Oh my
door
gosh.
every morning and I can feel the healing energy I feel at home. So for her it was a little bit of a longer journey, but I love that story so much. She did such incredible work there. It was really inspirational.
Amazing. I mean, I'm sure there's so many different fields and, practices, I should say, that you help clear people with their energy fields. Is there any in particular that you want to share? Like, what are your favorite practices and how it works?
Sure. So I will say doing that somatic clearing is a great thing, and you don't need any help for that at all.
Okay.
Again, when you feel resistance, or if you want to put yourself in a state where you're thinking about resistance in your life, feel into your body and again, see where it shows up and then just witness it.
Okay.
So all you're doing is you're looking at it straight in the face, right? You're not trying to change it, you're not judging it, you're not shifting it. You look at it and you acknowledge it, and sometimes that's enough to
Mm-hmm.
let it release. This is another little connection to physics. The observer effect, I think, is a lot of what happens in energy medicine, that just by witnessing and just by
Yeah.
looking is sometimes enough to let it go. But the other thing I love to do, and again, anyone can do this, I love to work with the energy of the elements to clear. So sometimes I'll sit down kind of in meditation and I will just imagine water, just healing water, washing in from above and washing down my entire body with the intention that it's just going to clear out everything that no longer serves me. Or I'll bring in that fire, right? If I have something really stuck, like I have a lot of throat issues actually from a lot of different reasons. Sometimes I'll take a really healing flame and I'll get in there and I'll just burn it all away. So again,
Wow.
you can bring in the energy of the not actual fire.
Okay.
It's the energy of the fire. It's the energy of the water. You can use air to blow things away.
Wow.
So those are my favorite easy ones. But for the more complicated ones, I did want to mention the practice that I see the most impactful is sometimes we have a soul contract with someone, like an energy agreement with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times the resistance won't get cleared until we go on a journey to understand that soul contract and to clear it up.
Got it. Wow. Thank you. Anything else you want to share in regards to that? I mean, there's more to it. I'm just going up by the notes, but there's a lot more to you and what we have to talk about. Just want to make sure we're covering everything that's important to you.
Yeah. No, I always just love to tell people that it's okay if you feel resistance. I think humor also helps a lot. Sometimes if you find yourself in a mess, like in a relationship, and you just laugh and say, "Oh my God, what a mess we made," I think that can help. But you know, there are specific practices for relationships. So for instance, you can also sometimes we have energetic cords that we connect to each other. That's another way to clear resistance, is by getting in there, releasing those energetic cords from each other. Again, there's that soul contract clearing. So, you know, there are so many ways to clear resistance,
Mm-hmm.
and the sky's the limit, because really it's about our imagination and our felt experience.
Wonderful. And by the way, if someone does want to reach out to you, would you mind sharing again the website?
Sure. It's www.soulfulnavigation.com. That's Soulful, soulfulnavigation.com. And for the holiday season, I do have a free training up on that website, and it's
Yes.
actually called Release the Hidden Resistance in Your Life. So that free training is a 4-part video series with guided practices
Okay.
that you can use to go in and clear resistance from your life.
Awesome, awesome. And again, don't forget about her app as well. And also, you can book a healing session directly there on the website. And you say, live your life from the inside out. Have you always lived your life that way? Or when did you come to the realization of, wow, and then you learned the energy healing and how it's how has it helped you personally, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, sure. I have a wonderful story to tell, actually. But no, when I say live your life from the inside out, for me, I did live, I think we all do. We, especially when social media really came into our lives, 15 years ago, but we look to the outside world for so much. We look to the outside world for direction, for clarity, for belonging, for acceptance. When you start to turn your awareness inside, you realize that you can find all of that in here. And in fact, it's so much better when you find your direction, your clarity, your acceptance from within yourself rather than from outside. Um, that was, for me as an engineer, I was looking to the outside world. So it did take me a little bit of time to kind of get back into my body and live that way. But if I could tell like a quick story,
Sure.
we when we moved to San Francisco, we weren't planning on being here very long. I'm from New York and my whole family's in New York. But we landed here, we were like, "Oh my God, this is it." So the market here, the real estate market is crazy and we just could not buy a home in San Francisco. It was too much. And anyway, we had a great rental. We had kids next door playing in the backyard. It was really like a village that we lived in, but eventually everybody moved away and we were like, "Okay, it's time to find a house." So I went kind of deep into meditation to try to manifest it. And alongside me was a traditional older San Francisco landlord, and they were a menace in our life. They
Yeah.
were in our space all the time. They were standing outside the window screaming at me while I was trying to work. They were leaving
Wow.
nasty notes on our car. They were
Oh,
following our children when they were out on
what?
the sidewalk, right? And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And anyway, and now it's like years trying to find a house. And it got to the point where I like didn't feel safe living in this apartment anymore. And I was like, "Okay, Kristen, you know what to do." And I like got the kids off to school, put my pajamas back on, got into bed. And for 4 hours, I sat in bed with breaks and I did everything. I resolved my soul contract with this landlord. I worked on my own first chakra. I knew I had fifth chakra issues. I worked on that. I called in my spirit helpers. I went on a shamanic journey where I called in the spirits of my partner and my kids, and all four of us sat together to decide, like, what is it that we wanted to conjure. And then it was done. And I felt better. I took a deep breath. I put my big girl pants on and went back to work. And 4 hours later, this house dropped in our lap. And in San Francisco, we got it under the asking price with no competition, which is a miracle because things tend to go for hundreds of thousands of over. One house we bid on had 19 other offers. It's one of those situations. And I really feel that from clearing that resistance, like going so deep in it and just clearing it out, layer after layer, I think the synchronicity of finding our dream home and being able to acquire it was really a big result of that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like karma, also like manifestation, like putting things out there that can you explain for any advice for us today listening? We have wants, desires, and needs. Doesn't mean that, what we want, we're going to get. But here it's true.
Yeah.
How
So
do
I
you
love
vision boards or what type of things do you
sure.
recommend?
Sure. Again, I think vision boards are great. I don't use them because again, it's outside world. I think you create inside, you do all the creation by your inner work, and then the outer world will automatically line up. But I will say that the law of attraction as it is in our pop culture right now does play a big part in it, meaning you can set an intention and become a beacon of that
Mm-hmm.
intention. So you become a beacon where you're just sending out a frequency or vibration, and that will come into you. But sometimes you do have to resolve things. And I love that you mentioned karma because sometimes we do have resistance from our past lives that we carry with us lifetime to lifetime. And we can, until we clear that out, I mean, that's definitely work in the unified field, kind of outside of this 3D world. But you can clear all of that. But I would say if someone wants to
It
get
would be.
started, I would say before
Mm-hmm.
you do your vision board, before you get busy in the outside world doing stuff, is to turn your awareness inside and just see what you can find and clear in there.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this. And if we do want to reach out for that consultation, would you mind sharing again how we could do that?
Sure. www.soulfulnavigation.com. I do have a free consult if anyone wants to jump on for 30 minutes. We can kind of chat about your personal journey. I love that. Or download my app, Soulful Navigation, in the Google Play or App Store.
Great. Thank you so much. Pleasure getting to see you, to talk to you, and of course, getting to occupy and share space with you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
You have a fantastic day. Thank you again.
Okay.
And thank you to all of our listeners. Stay tuned. More the show is on the way. Have a great day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Jill.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.